Now, this is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel. And as I said a few times before, that I'd like you to come along with me and learn this material from Rabbi Mimran. Now, this is something that if I look back at my life, I would say for the last 50 years or so, I'm not a youngster anymore, I've been looking for things like this, and this is why I'm saying this. Because I had a background in psychology and I was once in a doctoral program, and I think that my work was never really quite finished in trying to understand how that you could really help people. Now, we're living in an age, that's what seems to me, that nobody really thinks they need spiritual help unless they get into really serious trouble, which people do. And as a result of that, in my life, I get very close to Breslov and Rabbi Nachman and his teaching. Rabbi Nachman is wide open to this kind of thought, the different techniques that a person can use in order to become as close as possible to Hashem. And what's our goal? What do we really want to accomplish? We want to get our prayers answered. We want to know that there's a connection that we can make with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. This is my thinking that can really work and get your prayers answered and get you lined up in harmony with what's going on in the world around you, but there are obstacles. So now we're going to read Rabbi Mimran. And Rabbi Mimran keeps pointing out and keeps punching in onto us the different kinds of techniques that we could use and the thought patterns that we could use in order to really maximize the amount of joy that we add in this world. So this is a piece which he calls as part 17, the inner soul, body, and healing. Now exactly what he means by the inner soul, and then he talks about body and healing, well, let's find out. So we're going to read the English down here. He says, one who merits having the secret of attachment with Hashem. So all this time that he's been teaching us about how to avoid the pitfalls of the cycles of our, what he calls our egoic mind. So he says anyone who has achieved an attachment with Hashem will then merit the secret of equality. Now, I don't know what the secret of equality means, but I think that what he means is that there's only one God. And if you were able to look into it more deeply, you would see that everything is really tied to him. So in turn, we'll say like this. He will merit to having the secret of meditation. A person will be able to stop in the middle of all kinds of situations and see the godliness in the situation by looking beyond the egoic mind. And in turn, this person will merit to the divine spirit that's called Ruach HaKodesh. And from this to prophecy, which is a much, much higher level, where eventually he will receive prophecy and be able to tell the future. Interesting. But he's going to explain this out, because if you're a guy like me and you'd like to, you like thinking, there are all kinds of traps along the ways, but now he's going to show us the right way. So he says the body can become a point of access into the realm of the soul. Let us understand this better. As mentioned earlier, to grasp these concepts, one must stop trying to understand the being of the soul. Now, this is a very important idea to me, because maybe I think that my thinking, I could reason things out. And from my reasoning, I'll be able to understand the world around me and the people around me, how they're impacting me, and so on and so forth. Here he's coming along to say that you have to understand that if you want to understand the real spirituality within yourself, it won't go that way. If you were to search back in your past, you would find significant glimpses and experiences of the soul. The mind, though, you had experiences, will want to nevertheless always try to squeeze it into a little box, a compartment, and then put a label on it. It cannot be done. It cannot become an object of knowledge. So he's saying here that knowledge is more physical than the experience. So once that I have, say, an experience, let's say you're davening, you're praying, and you're in the middle of the Shemona Esrei, and you have a moment there, this happens to me, where you actually feel a connection that your prayer is connecting. Then the next thing you do is that you look at that part that got connected. What is it? It's this and that. And you put, like you said, a label on it. And now you've lost all the other prayers, because you're not in the present anymore. It cannot become an object of knowledge. It can't be something we call knowledge, like a thing. So he says, when the state of connectedness with your soul, when a person gets in that connectedness, another, he calls this, we call this a yichud. So his subject, he says, when that happens, subject and object merge into one. So there is not saying, well, this was the thought that's over here and like that. No, it's an experience of actual, what the psychologists call actualization, coming into the present and being a part of it. The soul can be felt as the ever-present I am. That is beyond name and form. It is what it is. The soul is the I am. To feel, and thus to know and to abide in that deeply rooted state of soul awareness is true utopia. And you'll be free from the illusion that you are nothing more than your physical body and your mind. Now think about the world that we live in today with the gyms and all the different things that people worried about how they look, and everybody's got to be young, and I'm not young anymore. It's a problem for me because I can't pretend to be young anymore. These are all pretending things and illusions. The illusions that you are nothing more than your physical body and your mind. That's what he says. Now, there's a little misprint of some sort coming up. Let's see how it goes. He says, this illusion of the self is the core error. You think that the way you feel, you think that the conclusions that you come to in your mind are you. So it's not. There is a you that's beyond that can look at those things. That's what Rabbi Mimran has been saying. And he says that once you're able to do this, you will be free from fear in its countless disguises as the inevitable consequence, and I guess he's going to say, of the egoic mind. So let's read this little blurb down here. This says the soul can be felt as the ever-present I am. That's what I call actualization. You're living in the present. That is beyond name and form. This is Baruch Fleischman at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and I'm saying this shiur also on the Dveikus Network with Rabbi Mimran.